Righty, all righty. Let's go ahead and bring everybody in. Welcome, welcome. All right, let's get rolling here. All right, welcome everybody. This is Brian Johnson. I am going to be talking about Amazon DSP, and I intentionally went with the Amazon DSP for Dummies because, quite frankly, this was one. I've got so much experience when it comes to Amazon native PPC ads, as many of you know, as well as conversion rate optimization of product listings. That is something I'm extremely passionate about getting messaging correct. And 95% of the brands on Amazon get that wrong, which gives me a huge opportunity in that field. But today I want to talk about something that my own agency, Canopy Management, we are an authorized agency for Amazon demand side platform, or DSP. But frankly, Amazon DSP has been one of those kind of black box kind of ad platforms that not enough people understand, not even me. And so I went in and I tried to wrap my head around it several times. And frankly, I got caught up in the terminology of, programmatic and, some of the just kind of marketing academic terminology that was being used. So if you're anything like me and you've kind of dismissed it just out of a lack of understanding, this is for you, because I'm going to try to break this down into simpler terms, and I'm going to poke fun at some of the Amazon explanations and some of the general academia kind of explanations of Amazon of programmatic advertising. But ultimately, what I want to get to is I want you to feel confident from this is that you've got enough understanding. I'm not going to go into the minutia. Okay, I'm not going to go into so much depth. It was like, here's a strategy, here's a tactic, all that kind of stuff, right? I want you to understand by the end of this episode that you understand it well enough in order to consider, yes, I know when I should use this. I know where I should use this. I know in what products I should use and what kind of volume does it make sense for me to actually start using this, and where would I actually see an Amazon DSP ad, and why do I care? I'm already running native PPC ads. Why do I care about Amazon's enterprise ad platform, DSP, that runs ads off of Amazon? What do I care? I'm selling a product on Amazon. Those are all questions I want to make sure that you walk out of here and say, like, I know all this now. I didn't before. I know it now. Cool. So if it works for you, give me a 1. If you think that you are well versed and maybe a pro at Amazon DSP, go ahead and throw a 9 into chat. Just kind of let me know who you are, so once in a while I can at least acknowledge your level and experience. Appreciate that. But let me go ahead and jump in for the rest of you. Again, please, if you're in the same kind of spot where I'm at, where I needed to try to get my head around that, it's DSP is pretty vague. Please open up your chat. I'm going to ask you this one time. Open up your chat, put a 1 in there if you're like going, yes, I've got more to learn when it comes to DSP. As far as more of the basics. Okay, good. Good. I didn't want to be talking to a crowd of people who knew more than I did. This is not going to be that kind of a deal. This is going to be like, so the rest of us can understand this. Okay, so jumping in, you should see my slide change to my mug here. For those of you, while I'm curious, I'm not going to keep on asking you for engagement throughout. I expect it, but I'm not going to hammer you about it. I'm not going to get pissy about it, right? For those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Brian Johnson. I go by Brian R. Johnson, so I'm not accidentally mistaken by the 100 other people who have the same name. But my experience, I've been in the e-commerce game for about 15 years. Been about 7 years in the eBay space with my own drop shipping brands. I should say drop shipping for other brands. Let me correct that. And then I came over to Amazon and was a fish out of water about 8 years ago, and finally got my head wrapped around pretty much everything. But what I mastered was Amazon native PPC advertising, and of course, listing conversion rate optimization. Very passionate about those, very well versed in those. So ask me any questions afterwards. It's cool. You can find me on down the bottom right hand corner. You can look me up on LinkedIn. So linkedin.com /IN for N, I guess, /Brian R. Johnson PPC. Look me up, connect with me, say hello. I would love to be connected with you. That's probably the best place to find me. And of course, this whole thing is sponsored by my agency that I co-founded, one of multiple companies, as you can see here in the space. Now an Inc. 500 ranked agency in advertising, Canopy Management, canopymanagement.com. Phenomenal track record, fantastic team. I love the people that I work with. And so, yes, absolutely. So I'm going to keep this brief. I really seriously want to keep this less than an hour, in and out, covering the basics, and then boom, gone. Okay. All right. So let me jump in here, get past me. I'm going to go through some things that frankly, you should look at some of this and say, that's a little bit too basic. That's intentional because I want to try to catch everybody. Okay. Jumping in as far as DSP. What is Amazon DSP? Why do I care? Well, funny enough, backstory on this is that Amazon DSP, Amazon likes to reuse acronyms. So it's actually their driver, it's actually DSP names for their driver program, which is the fleet drivers that deliver products on contract for Amazon. Well, that's not the same thing as what we're talking about today. What I'm talking about today, of course, is Amazon's enterprise advertising platform that is not part of Seller Central. It is their demand side platform, or DSP. Now, the way that Amazon describes this is it's an algorithm-based programmatic ad platform that serves targeted messaging to ideal audiences at the perfect time. Sufficiently vague to not really know what that means. If you're familiar with native Amazon PPC advertising, such as sponsored products, sponsored brands, sponsored display, then I'm going to compare and contrast those a little bit so you can understand, okay, where do these fit together? Where does DSP actually get preference, get priority as far as showing ads? Something you should know if you think that native PPC advertising is the 100% solve. It's not. But the way that I kind of understood, reworded this so that I understood it, is Amazon demand side platform, DSP. It's a tool that helps brands show their advertisements to the right people at the right time using computer algorithms to specifically target people who are more likely to be interested in the product being advertised, which can lead to more effective advertising. The key words here are, it allows you to run ads to focus on the people versus what I'll show you later, which is in Amazon native PPC advertising is primarily based off of what product are they currently looking at, what category are they currently searching in, and what search terms are they using. This is actually about the people, their lifestyle, their demographics, what site they're on, what previous shopping behavior they've done. Right? So this goes way more in depth than what Amazon native PPC advertising. So the way that I'm going to do a number of these kind of definitions, I've got several definition pages. This is just more kind of absorbed from an education standpoint, but I do have other examples I'm going to show you. It's not going to be all like that. And that is, let me show you a different example. Well, let me go back up one. You'll see ones that have long, blocky explanations that I got from places like Amazon directly, and it's just this massive amount of text of gobbledygook, that is hard to understand. And what I try to do is say, meaning the arrow pointing down is here's a simpler version of that, right? Things that I was able to put it into words that I finally, like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I put it in terms that I understood. So you'll see some of that. So I don't want you reading the whole big blocks of text. Just focus on the stuff that's underneath the arrow, right? Let me look at a couple other definitions first, right? And then we'll kind of take a step back and say, give me a bigger picture on this. Why do I even care, right? What's in it for me? I'm going to get to that here in a second. A couple of definitions here really quick. Programmatic advertising, what does that mean? All programmatic advertising means is that it's just an automated buying and selling of online advertising. Now, that's exactly what the ad auction does inside of Amazon Seller Central, inside of Ad Console for native PPC, for sponsored products, sponsored brand, sponsored display. That's programmatic advertising technically, because it's simply just, you're not competing with outside sources, sites, advertisers. It's native, so you could call it advertising where you're essentially competing for in an ad auction for advertising your product. Now, Amazon's native PPC is a pay-per-click format. Amazon DSP is actually based off of total impressions. In other words, you're paying for how many times an ad is shown, not how many times somebody clicks on it. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. At any time during this, throw in a zero or a bunch of zeros in the chat if you're like going, whoa, I didn't understand that. Rephrase that somehow. Okay, please do that because I want to make sure this is refined down so that everybody understands it. Okay, cool. The ad exchange. So again, both of these have their different variations, whether it is Amazon's native PPC advertising versus Amazon's DSP impression-based or CPM type of advertising. Is ideally is we're trying to get our ads in front of the shoppers that we want, that we think are going to actually kind of buy our ad or buy our product, right? Sounds simple enough. There's a bunch of different ways to skin this. Amazon DSP technically uses an exchange. So it's kind of like a network of advertisers across multiple sites. And I'll show you a sample list on that. Amazon actually owns thousands of thousands of different websites that get traffic. But each one of those, let's say they get 5, 10, maybe 50 million unique visitors per month compared to the 2 or 3 billion in unique visitors that Amazon.com gets, right? So the bulk of the traffic coming directly in Amazon.com is massive. But if you add up this whole network of Amazon-owned sites, it does add up to the billions also. Now, they've also partnered with other advertising and social media platforms and media, streaming media channels and various other things like for instance, depending on which kind of online email you use, sometimes you'll see ads that run inside of Gmail or Yahoo Mail or AOL if you're on that, and those ads are as a result of brands running what they call the programmatic or demand side type of advertising, and they're able to show ads in line in the like say in the email programs like Yahoo Email, let's say. If you've used that and you've noticed the ads are directly relevant to the conversation you're having with somebody, eerily obvious that they're watching and they're reading your email, right? That's essentially contextual behavior, or I should say contextual advertising. It's looking at what are you currently doing and putting it and giving you relevant ads, things that will be of interest to you at the time that it thinks that you are actually looking at that relevant topic. In other words, if you're having an email conversation with a vendor who provides a specific kind of software, you're very likely going to get an advertisement for some other software or service that provides a similar service, right? And that's intentional, right? That's the way that works. But same thing that where we're competing on Amazon for where we want our ads to show on Amazon, you can do the same thing essentially through an ad exchange where you're competing with a lot more advertisers across a lot more websites for your ad to show again to your target audience. It's just the way the targeting is significantly different. Okay. The nice thing about Amazon's DSP is it uses Amazon's own data. Can you imagine how much data that Amazon has on each one of us, as whether we're a buyer or a seller? They know both sides of us, right? They know our purchase behavior. They know our selling behavior. They know how many different windows and how long we search for things before we finally make a decision. We know everything that we've added to cart, they know everything that we've added to cart, that we've even looked at, that we've spent 18 seconds on versus 2 seconds on. Amazon has all of that data and they use it for things like advertising, right? It's great wealth of information that they have, meaning they can monetize it, obviously. And that's what they call first-party data. In other words, any kind of data that is stored about shoppers, their behavior, Have they bought products that are typically suggest that they have a spouse, that they have kids, that they have a grandmother? These are the kinds of, that they spend enough that suggests that they have this level of income. They always have it shipped to their, Provo, Utah address. And so they know exactly, approximately where, they know exactly where you live, right? And so those are all kinds of, they also know what website that, of course, that you visited before you came to Amazon.com. And so they know where you came from and where you went next. And so they know some of your behavior. It is absolutely Big Brother, level of creepy, but they've got that on pretty much everybody, right? Everybody who's not using like a VPN or some kind of masking, right? But that's first party data, and they use it in allowing advertisers to pay Amazon in order to run ads that put products and services in front of those audiences that have a specific set or combination of targeting criteria. And I'll get into what those look like. But that's the first party data, okay? Give me a 1 if you're with me so far. I want to say big, this time I'm going to ask for some big participation. Just I want to make sure everybody's like staying with me. Give me a 0 if I'm losing you already. That's okay. Okay, cool. Cool. All right. This one's a little dense. You may want to screenshot this one, right? Obviously, we're going to send out the recording and everything afterwards. We don't send out the deck, but we do send out the recording of, assuming that the Zoom records everything, of course. But let's talk about some differences. If you're already familiar with Amazon's native PPC advertising, sponsor product, sponsor brand, sponsor display, then you're going to have some familiarity with this, and I want you to be able to compare it to what DSP offers. I'll get in later into like what some of the criteria are as far as what level of business should you be at. I will say that you probably need to be a fairly mature brand on Amazon or off and on Amazon in order to consider demand side platform, because there is an investment involved. It's a lot more, there's more work. You typically have to work with an agency, and it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it for those brands that qualify. I'll let you know as far as what that criteria is here shortly. I've got a slide coming up. But just kind of comparing native PPC versus DSP. So hopefully everybody understands now when I talk about native PPC, I'm referring to sponsor product, sponsor brand, sponsor display, okay? Native PPC, as we know on Amazon, offers search term targeting. We actually opt in for keywords, but ultimately it's the shopper that's using a search term, right? So I'm saying search term targeting, product targeting, category targeting. And so in this case, it'd be a shopper searching with a keyword phrase would trigger a native PPC ad on Amazon, right? Some of the display ads, so sponsored display ads, will show off of Amazon, but only a fraction of the visibility in real estate compared to what the DSP enterprise platform can do, which is way more advanced than sponsor product, sponsor brand, sponsor display, I assure you. DSP offers more about targeting on shopper behavior. They're browsing in the beauty category, for instance, right? They spent 18 seconds on this product page and 2 seconds on this other product page. Those are all patterns that humans are easily predictable, but Amazon records it all. So they're looking for that kind of metadata. Lifestyle products relevant to past purchases. So if you bought a blender, a kitchen blender at one point, then maybe they're going to offer you some some cooking utensils or something in the future. In other words, it's relevant, right? Similar to what we might do in automatic sponsor product ad campaigns, where there's kind of that loose relevant or similar products that to what we're selling, right? And DSP simply does it more specific, more intentional, a lot more effective than Amazon automatic campaigns would, for instance. Demographics, how old they are, what gender that's these days. I'm not sure if I would even want to comment as far as the the gender identity. I don't know if they're actually considering gender identity, but let's assume that it is biological gender at this time until they, until they advance the platform. Certainly income, location, what your street address is, maybe where you've had things shipped to, for instance, as gifts, or if you're traveling around like Jared does, then certainly you may get products and different things, and it may throw off the algorithm a little bit. And of course, what devices? You're on an Android, Apple smartphone, are you on an iPad tablet, are you on a laptop? Are you using an Amazon Fire TV interface or a smart TV? All those things can be, are different devices that can be specifically targeted through DSP advertising, which of course you can't do through native PPC advertising. The ad formats, of course, you're going to have things as far as like, I already mentioned this, I'm not even going to read this statement here, but what the native PPC advertising does is inline ads, typically the sponsored, square ad that goes along with search results, the headline banner ads, the inline, sponsored video ads, right? The brand or the store ads, display ads, which typically show up below and to the right of a product listing. DSP offers display. In other words, display would be, say, things as far as the vertical skyscraper ad, horizontal banner ad, square ads, different kinds of shapes, in other words, of different ads, right? Including an overlap with the sponsored display and sponsored product ads that show up on Amazon. So DSP is going to show those ads both off Amazon at multiple thousands of different websites, right? As well as on Amazon. Here's something that you should be aware of. DSP ads will have priority. Let's say, like for instance, you're running a sponsored display ad right below the bullet points of your best competitor, right? And you're like, how come how come I'm only getting that part of the time, or how come my ad doesn't show up, more frequently on that? Chances are it's because a DSP ad is taking the space. It's going to trump. In other words, it's going to win out. Amazon's going to give preference to a DSP ad. Within reason, I'm sure they're going to say like, okay, who's offering the most money to me? I'm going to show that, but DSP is going to have an edge. Okay. Similar to the way that kind of like the slight bump that FBA would give to your keyword ranking versus FBM versus merchant fulfilled, right? Those kind of slight differences, but it's a good chance that DSP is owning that. DSP, there's a vertical strip. I'll show you one of those. No, actually, I didn't put it in the slide. Never mind. So above a product listing, you'll see usually like a vertical ad strip above there. A lot of times it's showing some Amazon thing because nobody's advertising there. Hint. Did you hear me on that? That vertical advertising at the top above product listing of your favorite competitor is often not occupied, meaning that if you were running, now that's available through sponsored display ads or DSP ads. So if you've got access to either or both, utilize that ad space, because if Amazon is having to show its own, like, oh, it's the Alexa device, or get Amazon Prime, or, whatever, right? If Amazon's showing its own service, its own feature, that means that probably nobody else is trying for that space, which means you could own it probably pretty cheap. Okay, that's a pro tip. Let's see here. So yeah, so there's some overlap as far as display ads on Amazon, but those also show off Amazon. They can also do video off Amazon, audio off Amazon. On some of the social media sites, some of the streaming video sites, IMDb, Prime, of course, Twitch. There's a number of sites. I'll show you a few here, just to kind of show an example on this. But your ads get shown to a much wider audience than just competing head to head with your direct competitors on Amazon. Because of the lack of basic understanding of DSP, the lack of understanding of that there's lower qualifications that you can actually leverage with a private agency versus using Amazon's own internal in-house agency. A lot of your competitors will not even bother even trying to wrap their head around, let alone trying to attack a DSP ad strategy, which gives you a huge advantage if that's the case. The telltale on that, again, like I said before, is that if you see a bunch of your competitors where that little thin horizontal headline ad that's above their product listing on their product detail page is advertising Amazon stuff instead of somebody else's, that means that you probably have pretty weak competition when it comes to DSP or even sponsored display, but more likely DSP advertising is the weak one, which creates a huge opportunity for you. Let's see, customization. There's pretty limited customization as far as what you can do. You can do different kind of, brand store ads and, sponsored video ads. You can do sponsored brand ads that have, that you can customize to show different keywords in the title and different images and that kind of stuff. It's not near the level of customization that you would have for through DSP, through the enterprise platform, where you could run, you can do a lot more customization. Now, whether you do the customization yourself and you provide it to the agency that you're working with, or you have the agency you're working with do all that creative, that's kind of your flexibility. Again, this is you adding on a multiplying the competitive advantage you have over competitors, okay? The primary goals. Now, this is kind of a funny one. I'm not sure if I agree with this entirely, because native PPC's primary goal is to drive product sales. But then you have sponsored brands, right? Which sponsored brand, like headline ads, is pretty much to say like, okay, here's the products within this brand, right? So you're still advertising the brand. If you happen to get a product sale, cool, but you're still kind of doing the billboard of brands, right? Now it's gotten more advanced where we're seeing more and more of the sponsored brand headline ad, which has video. Certainly video, it's got motion, it's going to catch the audience's attention. You can highlight the benefits right up front and the features that support those benefits of your product right up front in order to grab the attention of the shopper. I absolutely recommend that you do that if you're not already, because I bet your competitors are doing it and they're probably stealing a lot of market share as a result of motion, because motion, it catches the human eye more than color or contrast. Believe me, I've tested several thousand instances of split testing when it comes to what catches the shopper's eye. So I know that motion is absolutely the number one attention grabber. That was even before the sponsored brand video ads were available along the top. They're always down below the fold on search results. So imagine, motion catching the attention right at the top of search results. You should be doing that, right? That's not DSP, but I can tell you right now that it can work phenomenally well as far as grabbing the shopper's attention. I'm not going to get into details as far as specific examples on this, but I will tell you that DSP reporting of both attributing where the off Amazon site, one of the thousands of partner sites of a shopper coming over and purchasing your product on Amazon, is a lot better on Amazon DSP as far as that type of reporting than what we call the Amazon attribution reporting we get through native PPC, through the sponsored ads platform. It's way better. So the reporting in general is a lot more detailed, a lot more advanced through DSP, through others. You also get a lot more. That reporting provides huge amount of insight into who your target audience is, who your competitor target audience is, so that you can further narrow your messaging as well as set up as far as which specific ads that you're going to run. Okay. Management, unfortunately, this is kind of the weak part of this, because it's more of an advanced platform, it's more complex, is that DSP does require approved access to the DSP ad platform, which requires a qualified agency, an approved agency, I believe there's a wait list right now. Unless you want to use Amazon's in-house agency team, which requires at least a $50,000 per month ad spend. So if you're not at that level, don't use Amazon for that first reason. Second reason is because Amazon focuses on impression visibility, volume of how many times your product is seen. Independent agencies like Canopy Management, of course, focus on product sales and the profitability that goes along with those product sales. Because ultimately, we don't succeed for our clients unless we continue to grow their profitable sales year over year. Okay, that's how we get paid. Versus native PPC, which you can, of course, you can run right through ad console, you can run it through software, you can run through an agency. You know, there's a lot of options as far as that goes, a lot more flexibility. All right, keep moving here. This is actually going to wrap up faster than you think, but I'm kind of hammering some of these definitions a little bit more. As far as who needs Amazon DSP, I don't want you to read that whole block of text. You're certainly welcome to jump down below the arrow here, okay? Amazon's internal data and branding, what I talked about before as far as the shopper behavior, whether I've spent 18 seconds or 2 seconds on a page, whether or not I came from Netflix.com over to Amazon as far as my transition, all that kind of data is something that is being used as part of Amazon DSP advertising and targeting, which means I can now leverage that when I'm creating ads that focus specifically not on the search terms that people are searching for, but their behavior, their lifestyle, the site that they're on, the product that they purchased previously, the fact that they purchased somebody else's product, competitor's product, the fact that they were looking at a competitor's product. I can then run ads to say, no, buy mine. And these are the ads, the no, buy mine because you haven't made a decision yet. These are the ads that show up. I'm over on, I don't know, imdb.com, just searching around, looking at, movie content, and I see an ad of something that I was looking at, similar to what I was looking at on Amazon, but it's a competitor to what I was looking at on Amazon. That could be your ad that ultimately can pull them back in from off Amazon back onto Amazon to purchase your product, assuming that you have your product detail page, your main image, and your title optimized for the benefit, the what's in it for me, right? We.fm. It's a great radio station. I will pound that every single day, the what's in it for me, right? I've got a bad habit of even driving down the highway and either like commenting or judging billboards based off of their messaging, how poor messaging. And it's like, oh man, they just spent thousands of dollars and they got just a bad, a bad message, right? Jared was asking, can you target those who have added to cart? Yes, actually you can. I believe you can. Let me take a step back on that. I don't want to give you BS on that one. Let me find out on that one for sure. It is definitely going to be, well, here's the thing. So if somebody just visits your product page or a competitor's product page, you have the ability to run DSP ads to target either one of those, right? There's a little bit of that you can do with sponsored display ads, but it's only a fraction of what you can do with DSP ads as far as targeting goes. So I know that if they get an on-page session with either your product or your competitor's product, you can then run ads that follow you around on different websites that are partnered with Amazon in order to continue to show that ad. Whether that includes add to cart, it may not actually be necessary to be whether it's add to cart or not. I'll find out on that one. Yes, those who have previously purchased specific ASINs, yes. So you can actually do that, especially because you can do, so whether they visited a competitor ad or a competitor product detail page, excuse me, or whether they purchased a competitor product, you can then run ads. Now, here's why that makes a difference. If somebody bought a barbecuing apron that says, I'm the king chef, whatever, I don't care, right? You could certainly come back and say, you know what, I'm going to run an ad against people who bought this barbecuing apron, and I'm going to sell them barbecue gloves, or I'm going to sell them a pressure regulator for their CO2 tank, or for their propane tanks. Yeah, not CO2, their propane tank. I'm crossing welding with with barbecuing. That would not be a good combination. With the propane tank, maybe a pressure regulator over to them, right? And because now they're like going to say, well, it's like, well, do I have a pressure regulator? It's like, oh no, I guess I don't. I guess I should have that. So yes, whether they bought your own product, whether or not they brought a competitor's product, whether they visited a competitor's product, whether they visited your product, you can run ads in order to pull them back, to retarget them, to say, hey, buy my product now. This also includes the ability, which I think is very cool, is if you have any kind of a consumable product, okay, where you have, where you're expecting to have customers buy from you month to month, every 6 months, every year. If somebody bought a product from you, you can retarget them. Now, this is something you can do technically through sponsored display ads a little bit, right? Amazon put that in there to kind of tease us and say like, hey, you can do this, but it's not as cool as what you can do through demand side, through DSP ads. And that is, you can go back and say, okay, I want to retarget my previous customers who bought my product. And I either want them to buy another one of my product. Maybe it's a consumable product. I want them to buy another one. And maybe I'm going to set that out for 60 days. Maybe I set it for 365 days, right? Depends on the product you have. The other thing you can do is you can say, you know what? You bought this product previously. We just introduced a better upgraded product. Go buy this one now. You can do that, which is really cool. Imagine the competitive advantage that you've got among your competitors as far as like increasing your sales volumes, your sales velocity, which turns into keyword ranking, which turns into growing your market share on Amazon, right? So Jared, thank you for that question. Awesome. Let me keep moving forward here. Otherwise, I'm going to burn through the 1 hour promise. In fact, I got 15 minutes to wrap this up. So let me keep moving here. Why use it, right? I've covered a number of these things, right? It's primarily going to help you to target audiences that are hard to reach. In other words, it's going to break the mold of what you currently are limited to as far as, hey, you know what? I'm in this keyword research hell. I'm in this product targeting, waiting around for somebody to run out of stock from an 800-pound gorilla competitor so that I can then run ads against them, which I highly recommend, but it's usually very temporary, right? And you need to be able to monitor that, of course. But this actually goes into lifestyle, especially the whole, they looked at this product, they purchased this product. I'm going to remarket to them. I'm going to retarget, run retargeted ads both on Amazon and off Amazon to thousands of sites to try to bring them back to Amazon to purchase the product when my competitors are clearly probably not doing this. Okay. Let me keep moving this. What's in it for me? Well, I'm surprised that I waited this long to get to this slide, because this is the one that I find this is always the question I ask. What's in it for me, right? What's the result to me? Ultimately, if I'm running DSP ads, if you're running DSP ads, if it makes sense for your product, if it makes sense for your budget, to include it as part of your marketing program, it certainly increased profitable product sales, increased sales velocity as a result, including, your organic keyword ranking can get a bump from the increased sales velocity. Both the combination of both of those, higher visibility as well as increased market share and increased sales, right? It's a perpetually feeding, as you can see on the right-hand side. You get that visibility. Start with visibility. That's generally going to be ads or organic ranking. You get that shopper engaged. They see your listing, they see your ad, they click through to your product listing. They then consider what your offer is compared to what they've already looked at, or any other ads or other products that are showing up on your product detail page, whether it depends on how good a job you did of defending your own product detail page against competitor ads. And ultimately, if your offer is correct, your messaging is correct, and it solves the question of, I have a need, I have a pain, your product solves it, then I'm going to make a purchase. And that purchase is probably going to be tagged back in most cases to whatever search term I originally started with. That's going to bump my sales velocity. I'm going to use English now. Sales velocity based off of the original search term, which means keyword ranking, right? And so you're going to get a bump off of that. That is then going to increase your visibility and, of course, wrap around, right? Which ultimately you want that loop to continue to feed itself, right? But in order to get there, I need to be able to increase the brand awareness. It's going to be visibility, increase product visibility. Again, visibility. It's primarily going to be either organic ranking, promoting through social media and off Amazon platforms, whether you're using DSP to run ads on other sites, or you're using social media and influencers in order to drive traffic back over to your product listing. That's the increased awareness, increase the visibility of your products. And the things that you can do that, of course, you can run the DSP ads off of Amazon. You can run DSP ads on Amazon. And I say priority because they generally trump somebody else's sponsored display ad on Amazon, which is good to know. You have the ability, instead of just doing search term targeting or product targeting or category targeting, you can now target specific existing customers. If you've got an idea of what their demographic profile is, should be part of your brand analytics. If you have any outliers when it comes to their age, their income, their gender, those are the kinds of clues that you need inside of Seller Central's brand analytics in order to tell you how to even do better targeting. Now, those are things that obviously that my team, my DSP team, is certainly going to look at ourselves, right? You don't need to provide that if you work with Canopy, of course, which naturally I'm going to highly recommend. Why? Because I've got the shirt, right? I've got, oh, this side. See, I've got the polo shirt. That means I have to promote Canopy. So hopefully you're as amused as I am on that. You can target, of course, as Jared and I were talking about here, is specific undecided shoppers of your product, your competitor's product, or specific decided, as in they've already purchased your product or your competitor's product. Okay. All right. Actually, let me back up. Give me some ones. Are you still with me? Give me a 0 if I've skipped over something. Okay. Throw a 5 in there if you think that if your mind is starting to say, like, you know what, maybe I should actually be using DSP. All right. Jared, are you going to prosper or no? Let me know on that. Or MSD or MDS, excuse me. Okay, so how can DSP help grow my business? Don't read the top paragraph, right? That's the academic version. You've got audiences and then you've got creative. In other words, the type of ads that you can show, right? Bummer. Okay. When it comes to audiences, we've talked about this, so this is kind of beating a horse, right? So we've been discussing this, is those who might be interested in your product but haven't bought them yet. Visit your listing or store page. Forgot about store page. Didn't mention store page. If they visit your product listing or your store page or your competitor's listing or your competitor's store page, then you've got the ability to run ads against them, both on Amazon and off Amazon. Right? Whether it's a previous customer that you want them to come back and repurchase, or to purchase an upgrade version that you've come out with. Buy similar products to yours. That was my example of the barbecue. I was going to say barbecue dress. The barbecue. Man, I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. The smock versus the propane tank regulator, not the CO2. I'm having too much fun here. so you've got the ability. So there are contextual can be like depending on what you're. So let me kind of run through some of the things I'm showing on the right-hand side here. As far as the targeting goes, let's start it with demographic. Demographic would be things as far as you're targeting specifically people who live in the a specific culture within a specific city. That it would be an example. If you sell a product that is specific to a culture or a specific holiday, that type of thing would be an example of where you could target from a demographic standpoint. That could be based on their age, their gender, their income level, all those kind of demographics. In market is going to be more along the lines of what kind of products that they're currently looking at, what are they searching for, what have they searched for recently. Lifestyle, that's going to be more along the lines of, well, lifestyle is kind of an extension of in market, in my opinion, because lifestyle is kind of like you seem to consistently buy these type of products. Like, for instance, if I'm always buying things as far as like diapers and baby bottles and bibs and that kind of stuff, that pretty good chance is that I'm probably a parent or a grandparent with a baby in the house, right? That would be a lifestyle type of target, right? So you can kind of narrow in on those kind of situations. If I'm always buying parts for RVs and camping, then probably part of my lifestyle is I like to travel in an RV, I like to camp and all that kind of stuff, right? So those are some different lifestyle examples. Contextual is what am I doing right now? I'm in Gmail and an ad pops up. I'm having a conversation with a vendor for some new fancy AI software that I want to use. And then some other ad comes up and says, hey, we've got a better AI software mousetrap over here, directly relevant to what I am currently doing right now, whether I'm shopping, whether I'm having a conversation, whether I'm searching on Google, whatever the case is, that would be more the contextual, right? If I'm looking on IMDb, I keep on using IMDb, but if I'm on the imdb.com website looking at Terminator movies, then maybe they're going to sell me sunglasses, Ray-Bans or something, right? I actually don't know if it was Ray-Bans that had the Terminator that Arnold Schwarzenegger had as his sunglasses. If anybody knows that, let me know. Device, of course, whether or not you're on a smartphone or you're on a tablet or you got a Fire TV or you've got a streaming Netflix service, whatever the case is. Prime, obviously Amazon Prime would be an example on that. Those would be some examples for that. Now, some of those sites, since I kept on getting stuck on IMDb because that was the example that I was using here, this is just a sample. Literally, there are thousands of websites that Amazon either owns because they've got deep pockets, or they have partnered with. This goes beyond even what they own. There are literally, last year I think there was 600. Now there's probably over 1,000 different websites that Amazon either owns outright or has a portion of where they can run their ads on. And each one of these are big enough that they get quite a bit of traffic, and you can run ads on those in order to pull people back over to your listing or your brand store page on Amazon. With DSP, you can actually run this back. Let's say you've got a Shopify site, for instance. You could actually take a DSP. You don't have to point it back to Amazon. You can actually point it back to your own website if you wanted to. If you have that kind of direct consumer type of product line, you can use DSP to use Amazon's audience targeting, demographic, lifestyle type of targeting ads. You don't have to be actually even selling on Amazon. You can run DSP because it's the enterprise platform. You can run those ads. You can point them back to your own site. Now, the advantage on that, of course, is that if you have a high lifetime value of a product on your own website, and it's more about the family and culture and getting them onto your marketing list, that's probably the better chance, right? You're going to get a higher conversion rate on Amazon, most likely, simply because they trust Amazon. But you have the Amazon DSP gives you the advantage of you can either point it back to Amazon or you can point it to your own site. So, surprised I didn't bring that up earlier. That's a huge difference between native PPC advertising, right? But ultimately, think about it. If you're running your ads across, a splatter of these sites of, thousands of sites, right? Ultimately, that is traffic coming off of Amazon back onto Amazon. Here's a question that just occurred to me that I don't actually know the answer to, and that is Amazon has already shown us that they are willing to bump our keyword ranking and our visibility when we drive our own traffic from multiple sites off Amazon to Amazon. Generally, that's search engines, social media sites, that type of thing. But now I'm wondering if we're advertising and we're pulling traffic from all the Amazon partnered websites, and when they're pulling back to Amazon, do we get credit for that? I don't know. I'm speculating on that one, but I would guess that maybe there's a bit of a bump there. Similar to what I was saying before, is that you get a bit of a visibility and organic rank kind of bump if you have your stock at FBA versus fulfillment by merchant, right? All right, creatives. So Amazon DSP platform gets a lot more flexibility when it comes to creative, different sizes, different animated kind of images, different video formats. So there's a lot more flexibility, vertical, skyscraper ads. Billy, you're saying it's like as in the referral program perk for driving traffic and sales to Amazon. No, I don't think so. I think that's separate, but that is actually a really good point. So thanks for bringing that up. Amazon has its own referral program if you're working with things like influencers, for instance. But what I'm suggesting is that if you're running DSP ads and your ads pull in a shopper from one of Amazon's partnered websites or owned websites, is that considered external traffic? And do we get a bump for that simply because we're running DSP? I don't know that. It's something to research though. But the creatives that you can do with DSP are certainly more in-depth, more customizable than what you're going to get through native PPC ads. Not just static banners, but you've also got responsive ads that are content inline ads. In other words, you can have a number of ad creatives and it'll automatically put in the ad that is most relevant to the context, to the website of, so in other words, you're not running the same product image. Like here on the right-hand side, I'm showing like the vitamin energy, and it's just, the shot, right? The vitamin energy shot. And you could run that. That would be considered a static one if that's the same ad or those ad formats, those two ad formats that are showing here that are showing across, thousands of websites, right? Responsive would be more like you have a set, a different set of creative based off of, okay, if the context is more about people who like gaming, then I want to have the image that has vitamin energy, and then I want to have a whole cool gaming desk system in the background. So it catches that gamer's eyes like, wow, that's a cool gaming setup. Vitamin energy shot, boom, right? So that would be kind of a context ad where you can use different creative depending on the site that the ad is actually being shown on, right? The context. And then of course, video ads, motions right up front, throw them the benefit right up front in a motion ad. You can do a lot with video ads when it comes to as far as drawing the shopper's attention, even when they're off Amazon, right? All right, so here's kind of the one of the questions that people are waiting for. So prerequisites. So here's my recommendation is if you are running both off Amazon and on Amazon, so that first number is actually combined. If you're doing about $750,000 a month combined total gross sales off and on Amazon, then you're probably a pretty good candidate for DSP, Amazon DSP advertising. If you're running probably at least $100,000 per month in total sales on Amazon, I would also recommend that. Now, here's the funny thing about that. If you look down below, you can see that if you're using DSP that's managed by Amazon's own internal team, which I certainly don't recommend, not because of the cost, but because of the type of advertising they're doing, is they require at least 50,000 per month. Sometimes they put it on sale for you for 35,000 minimum per month, but it's currently about 50,000 per month, I believe. Through an authorized agency like Canopy Management, you can do about 10,000 per month minimum ad spend, right? But you ultimately, if you're thinking about the from a taco standpoint, usually I recommend 10 to 12%. That's usually what we target to try to get our clients to, our partners to, is about a 10 to 12% tacos, meaning if you've got 10,000 in ad spend, then you should probably have 10 to, well, I guess it would be what, 88,000 to 100,000 in total sales. My math might be off a little bit there, but so if you're not even running, in the 10,000 example, if you're not even running, let's say $90,000 in monthly total sales on Amazon, you're probably not quite ready for DSP. There are agencies, there are services that will allow you to run for less than that, but I discourage you from doing that just yet. Build your sales first and then add on DSP in the future. Here's why. We've done a lot now. So since I co-founded Canopy, we've done well over $2 billion in sales growth on Amazon for our partner clients, right? In the last 5 years. So I'd like to think that we've got plenty of experience in this space. Part of that, of course, has been DSP ads, which we know can add on a good 20% in additional sales, along with massive profitability in certain situations, massive profitability, but certainly add on another 15, 20% in additional sales easily using DSP. And the ones that have the most success are currently selling at least $100,000 a month on Amazon. Part of that is because they've got a big enough portfolio to work with. Maybe they have enough ability to absorb some of the initial setup and testing that's required the first couple of months, right? And so they can afford to do that better. Sometimes it's just a case of they have enough brand recognition because they're out there enough in order to do at least 100,000 a month that their brand would actually be recognized when it's actually shown off Amazon or in line on Amazon. So that is my recommendation. Yes, you can go far below that, right? 30,000, 50,000, whatever the case is. But for DSP specifically, I do recommend just hang on, wait until you're hitting that $100,000 mark. If you're not quite there, ask Canopy Management to give you a hand here, hire us to help you to get to that 100,000 per month. Then we'll make that recommendation and say, okay, we want to add on another 20% of your sales, profitable sales. Here's how we're going to do it. Again, DSP doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a third-party seller on Amazon. You could actually just be a direct to consumer brand off of Amazon for that matter, right? Consumable products for repurchase are ideal specifically for the retargeting, for the periodic retargeting, whether it's like 60-day, 90-day, 365-day kind of retargeting to get them to purchase again and again. It's a little bit counterintuitive. You think it's like, well, I've got a product with a 30-day supply, so I do a 30-day retargeting. No, because most customers, they don't consume it in 30 days. I'm sure you already know that, but yeah, generally they're not ready to purchase, in other words. And so running at, you add 50% to whatever the duration is for the dose that you're providing, a supplement, for instance, or a consumable, then that's probably what you want to do. You want to target as far as a remarketing standpoint. Okay. Let's see here. All right, let's keep moving. Quick placeholder here. Again, this is not a hard pitch. If you think you're ready to at least explore to see if DSP makes sense, allow us to at least look at your brand and give you our honest opinion based on our experience as far as whether we think that you're going to be successful or not, if you're ready or not, what our recommendations are in order for you to get to be ready, have a conversation with our team over at canopymanagement.com. We don't charge for this currently, so just get the answers that you need for your brand or a brand that you represent, right? Of course, if there's anybody in-house that represents another agency that currently isn't authorized because Amazon hasn't opened up, DSP access, reach out to us. I think we could definitely help you to grow sales for your clients. I know it certainly works well for us. All right. Before I dig into this next part here, and I know I'm running a little bit over, so hopefully some of you will stick with me here a little bit longer. Do the 1 and 0 thing. 1, you're keeping up, keep moving. 0, take a step back. I've got a question. Okay, then. All right. How am I doing? Did I bring it down to enough of a level that you're starting to get some aha moments, that you're starting to wrap your head around the value of DSP, maybe something you hadn't heard quite the same way before, that starting to make a little bit more sense? Give me a Y for yes or a no for no, you're incompetent, Brian. That's all right. Thanks. I can take a hit. It's all right. Let's talk a little bit as far as, I want to kind of like step back and think of it from a marketing standpoint, right? Ewan, thank you very much for being here. Thank you. From a full funnel strategy, and I really do want to try to wrap this up in like 5 minutes, and then take a few questions, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. From a full funnel strategy, these are some kind of a classic, AIDA kind of awareness, interest, decision, action kind of things. There's the full funnel, there's customer journey, these kind of things. This simply just says like, okay, which side are you on? Are you the seller, the marketer, or are you the buyer, right? And so really it has to do with, you've got to first of all be aware, you've got to be able to see a brand or a product in order to even consider whether or not it's something you're even interested in. If you're interested in it because there's something usually compelling, your messaging is correct, something hooked you into looking at a specific product or a specific brand. If you have not updated your product listing on Amazon in the last couple of years, you absolutely will get killed by an agency like mine, because we can walk all over you, because there's no way that your product listing is optimized compared to what we would do in the same space. And I don't mean to be that, yes, I'm going to be cocky sometimes because I know what my team can do. But at the same time I'm trying to get you motivated to realize, you know what, maybe I need to spend some more time really focusing in on the benefit, what's in it for me kind of messaging of my product listing. If you haven't done that in a while, you are falling behind. So please don't do that. If you're here listening to me, please get ahead of this, right? Because your competition will eventually pass you. AIDA, awareness. They see your brand, they see your product, they show some kind of interest in order to like, yes, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Maybe they make a decision to purchase the product, either add to cart or actually purchase the product, right? And then maybe they get into the point where, okay, now I'm a fan, I'm going to tell my friends, they're loyal. Maybe they even promote your product and brand for you. I did that recently for a product called hostage tape. This is kind of a funny thing, but I'll tell you about that later. But to compare, if you look at the graphic in the center, if you look at the red dotted area, the interest, decision, action, that's primarily what you're going to address with advertising on Amazon. Because by the time they get to Amazon, they already are aware of what they're looking for, right? Now they're just looking for something to solve what they're looking for. So they start typically with interest. Yes, they start out with a search, but it's because they're already familiar with that. Awareness bolts on the ability of, you see that on highways as far as billboards, and there's no call to action. It's simply just like Coca-Cola, it's sparkly, or whatever the case is, right? It's not about getting you to go out and say, oh, I need to go buy a Coke right now. It's when you see enough of those, that it impresses on your memory and your brain such that when you finally go, you're in the convenience store and you're going Coke, Pepsi, whatever, variation of soda. It's like, you know what? I'm going to go with Coke. I don't know why. For some reason, I just have an affinity toward Coke. Now, personally, I prefer Coke products, but over Pepsi. But that's just, that's one of those, debatable, things, right? That is more about how do you get in front of them that's the kind of the billboard advertising where you're planting the brand seed so that there's familiarity when they actually go to purchase. That's the purpose of that type of brand awareness. DSP offers that brand awareness, but DSP also does that whole retargeting, remarketing piece where it says, look, I know you're interested in this very recently in the last few days, or you bought previously, 60 days ago. I'm going to throw an ad in front of you in order to get you to actually make a decision, take action to purchase a product, but I want you to purchase my product. Okay. So that is the additional piece where DSP goes out and grabs that consumer off of Amazon, pulls them back onto Amazon in order to get them to make a decision in your favor. Okay. So that's where kind of DSP steps beyond what you're currently doing with just native PPC advertising. So hopefully this makes sense. I'm going to move forward on this. If anybody's got a question on this, just throw me a 0 and we'll come back to it. Let me go through a couple of things on this from a funnel strategy. So when it comes to awareness, you're trying to reach, the goal here is to reach the maximum number of qualified Amazon shoppers, whether off Amazon or Amazon. Your idea with DSP, of course, is that you're going to try to reach them in places that when they're not on Amazon, they're in other social media, other streaming video, other websites that Amazon considers to drive the most amount of traffic. That's why they bought them. It's likely to drive the most amount of purchasing traffic back to Amazon. So they're accessible, right? It may not convert as high as while they're on Amazon, but I'd rather have the conversion than have them go back in the future and go like, oh, you know what? I'm going to buy this competitor product because that's the last thing I had, looked at. This is my search history, right? And so you want to pull them back over to with the awareness to be familiar with your brand, know that you have an offering. Maybe you've got a product that has a better solution than your competitor's product. And maybe you've got compelling messaging that says, you actually need this right now. It's really going to solve some of your pain. Okay. With consideration, of course, consideration is like, okay, is this product right for me? Right. I want that shopper to be clear that my product is the preferred choice. Here's what's in it for you. Here are the benefits to you. Here are the features that support that benefit, right? I'm removing as many roadblocks as possible from my product listing. I'm going to look for anything that's in my content that creates doubt or confusion that might slow down the purchase of the product. I'm going to run enough defense. I said enough defensive ads on my product listing so that I'm trying to defend some of my real estate around the core part of my product so that shoppers don't get easily distracted. So my messaging is in line. I've got a product that solves their pain. My price point is reasonable for what they're looking at. Preferably, we always try to get our clients to continue to bump up their, we help them increase their conversion rate quite a bit on their product listings. And so we have them raise their price. And so they're usually the higher price point. So part of making sure the messaging when it comes to benefits and pain points and features and that kind of stuff that talk directly to that target audience is to obviously differentiate this product from competitors and justify the higher price point. So the shopper just says, this does everything I want. It's got great reviews, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and buy this product at the higher price point, is in higher profit margin for the client, right? But ultimately with the consideration is we need to get them through that so they actually make a decision so that nothing impedes them from saying, yes, I want all this stuff. Okay, let me just get it. And then of course, and that's the purchase, right? And that's ultimately whether or not you're running native PPC ads, whether you're running just organic search on your product listing on Amazon, whether you're running DSP ads that's pointing back to Amazon or pointing back to your D2C website, right? Shopify, something like that. Ultimately, I want them to make the purchase. DSP is going to track, regardless of where I send that traffic. If a purchase is made, DSP is going to tell me this is the chain of events that led to that purchase, so that you can learn about your target audience, what targeting worked, where you pull them in from, where to double down as far as your advertising, because, wow, this one website is really effective. This one audience, lifestyle, or demographic was a lot more successful than, some of my other advertising. I'm going to double down on that, right? That is what a true professional agency is going to do for you in those cases, is look for those opportunities, double down on what's creating the profitable sales. Okay. Profit being the core word there. And that's it. That's done. That is webinar done. Let me stop sharing here now. So now I'm going to open it up here and just say, okay, questions. Now, ultimately, you saw I didn't go into minutia. I didn't show you specific reporting examples, specific targeting examples. I didn't go into any of the specifics as far as strategy, tactics, pro tips, that kind of stuff. I certainly should have given you a lot to consider, but now I want what your questions are. So first and foremost, just kind of, open up chat. Okay. Open up chat and give me, just rank how much were you able to take away from this on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 meaning it's like, wow, I've got a whole long list of things I need to act on. I need to research. I need to know. 1 is like, it's all right, Brian. Give me some feedback here in chat. Let me know. Okay. So I guess my follow-up question. Okay. I definitely have a mix here. Cool. So is it a case where I didn't go into enough depth? It's still kind of a vague concept that needs another round? I'm kind of curious as far as your feedback of what would help you to wrap your head, because I truly do. I'm not doing it from a sales and marketing standpoint of like wanting to sell you something, right? If it's a good fit for you to have a conversation with our agency, you will do that. You don't need me in the middle to tell you what you to do for your business. What I want to try to do is I want to try to make this topic more accessible to you. This is my first attempt. I want to be able to come back and say, you know what? I came up with a better format and I want to send that to you. So whatever feedback you want to give me now of, you know what? I didn't understand it well enough. I need some more basic visual examples. That kind of stuff helps a lot. But if you have any questions, now's the time, because I'm going to wrap this up in about 2 minutes. Okay, Billy, thank you. You mentioned there was a waiting list to be approved for the DSP platform as a seller. Recommend, okay, you're in the zone as far as what makes sense. Okay. Yeah, so DSP, Amazon's DSP has their in-house managed program, right? Again, I don't recommend it because they're simply just their advertising strategy is incorrect for most brands. It serves them better than it serves you. From an agency, you do have those approved agencies. There are, and I don't know, I remember one a couple of years ago that had, hey, you can use our platform and you can just access it. I don't know if they're still around or not. I'm trying to remember the name of that one where you could just piggyback on somebody else's, because usually you have to go through a DSP, through an agency that is authorized already, right? Sean, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes, your feedback is appreciated. Thank you. So Billy, I guess your question on that is, I don't know the specific waiting list. I know that there's another agency that I'm friends with that applied for it, I think back in probably October. They're still waiting. So I don't think it's quick. It's like going through motor vehicles. I don't think it's quick. I think it's still feasible to get there. Ultimately, if you have any kind of Amazon account rep assigned to you already, then they can probably move the needle for you on that one. I know certainly that yeah, you may want to simply just, Bill, you may want to just have I don't know if this is for your own brand or if you're doing it as an agency or what your capacity or role is. I would certainly encourage you, just because I know that there's no hard pitch. We'll just tell you, yes, we can do something. No, we can't. Yes, it's appropriate. That actually might be good feedback to have, regardless of whether or not you choose to go your own path with getting a DSP access or using an agency, either us or somebody else who's authorized. It's not a bad idea just to have the conversation, just to kind of get some feedback. We're not going to pitch you. It's simply just well, technically we would pitch you because we would tell you, here's what it would cost for us to do it for you, right? But it's not a hard pitch, right? We just don't do that. We don't need to. Our track record speaks for itself. So, I know that, what was it? What I was going to say? Oh, this is one of the things I was going to show here. This is actually, I've got some benchmarks here. If you're already, I don't know if anybody's already using DSP currently, but here's some benchmark numbers that I want you to take a look at and compare. So you've got awareness type of ads, you've got retargeting ads, you got loyalty ads within DSP. These are some examples of, I don't think this is, I mean, I'll be honest, I think this is more of or year-over-year results that we have seen. I don't want to say it's our average or our minimums, whatever. I just want to say it's like, this is kind of what the benchmark that you should be comparing to know, you know what, I've got somebody doing my DSP, or I've got Amazon doing my DSP, or we've got them doing it in-house. Are you getting these kind of numbers? If you're beating these numbers, cool, keep doing it, right? If you're not, come back, have a conversation with us, right? All right, where did the chat go? Here's what I'll do for do this, Billy. If you want to, I'm going to put in the chat my direct email, right? So if anybody wants to reach out to me directly, it's simply just brian@canopymanagement.com. I'll go ahead and put you in touch with the people that can get you the answers that you need. I'm just a pass through, try to help you. I appreciate everybody's attention on this today. This was kind of a topic that is, frankly, I bit off more than I could chew, in that I had quite a bit of a learning curve just to try to simplify it. And I had a number of conversations with my own DSP team to tell me, no, you're wrong, Brian. This is the way it works. In order for me to boil it down to like, okay, here's some specific examples of how it actually works based off of what I had perceived. And so because my own DSP advertising, I rely heavily on a phenomenal DSP management team in-house at Canopy, and they know their stuff. I don't presume. I can jump into any native PPC ad campaign and solution, and I can pick it apart all day long. But it would be unfair to my clients for me to be hands-on managing their DSP account when I have such qualified experts in my team. So loyalty campaigns, I'm going to butcher your name. I'm pretty pardon this. So is it Shantanu? Was I even close on that one? Okay. So yeah, nice. I get lucky once in a while, right? So would you define loyalty campaigns in DSP? So loyalty campaigns would be as far as some of the retargeting. Well, actually, it wouldn't be even retargeting. So retargeting could be those who have not made a purchase yet, my competitors, versus loyalty would be they previously purchased from me and I want them to purchase again and again. So that would be your loyalty. Retargeting would be like they haven't made a decision yet and I'm trying to steal them from a competitor, or I'm trying to close the deal. I'm trying to close the sale with them. Billy, I appreciate that. Thank you for the feedback. Shantanu, thank you for the questions. I appreciate that. Thank you. And Sean, again, I took note of that. So thank you. I appreciate everybody. I'm going to close this out now and wish you a good day, good week, good week. If any of you happen to be going to Prosper 2023 next week in Las Vegas, Nevada, go ahead and look me up. Give me a shout. Otherwise, I put my email back up in there. Let me do it one more time here. You can certainly reach out to me if you have related questions. Yeah, Jawad, appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. We will talk to you very soon.